Tibidar Kostka was a pharmacist in 1880, but he claimed to have received a message from God to abandon his profession and become an artist. 22 years later, Kostka painted a portrait of a fisherman. At first glance, it seems rather ordinary, though the man's face is somewhat grotesque and weary. Yet when a mirror is placed at the center of the painting, two entirely new portraits appear. On one side, the reflection reveals a devout man praying in his boat upon calm waters. On the other, a sinister twin emerges. The fisherman's features grow darker, and the background transforms into a hellish vision of storms and smoking industrial towers. Kostka never explained why he created this effect, or whether it was deliberate. Still, even without a mirror, the two halves of the painting appear strikingly different, far too much to be mere coincidence. Art historians suggest it symbolizes the duality of human nature and the hidden self behind outward appearances. Others interpret it as a critique of the industrial age, a crime against nature itself. But what do you think? Settle in and get ready. Today we'll dive into the secrets hidden within famous paintings. Strange symbols, hidden faces, and mysterious meanings that even experts still debate. If you don't want to miss more discoveries like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Van Gogh's Café Terrace at Night. You've probably seen this painting more than once, and I'm sure many of you admire it. But only true art enthusiasts know the hidden secrets within this canvas. One of them is the coded image of the 12 Apostles. You're likely familiar with Leonardo da Vinci's famous fresco, The Last Supper. Some believe that Van Gogh made a subtle reference to this masterpiece in his own work. In the cafe scene, there are 12 seated figures, and the man in white at the center is thought to symbolize Christ. And if you look closely, in the background window, there seems to be a faint suggestion of a cross. Another fascinating detail about this painting is that Van Gogh didn't use a single drop of black paint to depict the night. Instead, the canvas is filled with countless shades of blue and violet. We already mentioned Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper in passing, but this masterpiece deserves a closer look. Few works of art carry as many mysteries as this one. Some believe it hides a secret code. An Italian musician once noticed something unusual. If you draw a musical staff across the painting and mark the apostles' hands as notes, they line up to form a melody. And when played, it actually creates music. Coincidence or hidden genius? Want to hear it? It makes sense, since Leonardo himself was known as a talented musician. And then there's another theory, made famous by the Da Vinci Code. According to it, the figure beside Christ is not the Apostle John, but a woman, Mary Magdalene. Of course, most experts dismiss this claim, but still, the mystery of the Last Supper continues to spark debate to this day. In one of the 15th century paintings, researchers believe they may have found a depiction of a UFO. The work in question is an image of the Madonna by Domenico Ghirlandaio. Most people would likely never have heard of this painting if it weren't for a strange object placed in the sky. Many are convinced it is nothing less than a UFO, and when the image is magnified, the details do look suspicious. Still, there is no definitive explanation for this mysterious symbol. Many experts suggest it could represent some forgotten sign commonly used in the 15th century, or perhaps simply a stylized depiction of a bright star. One way or another, it is left to each viewer to decide what they see in this enigmatic detail. And in the comments, you can share your own opinion. What does this mysterious object really look like to you? Jan van Eyck, the Arnolfini portrait. Even if the artist name or the title of the painting doesn't sound familiar, you've almost certainly seen it before. Experts continue to debate many of its details. The slippers left on the floor, the dog, the position of the woman's hand, and more. But the greatest secret lies in the background, the reflection in the mirror. With the naked eye, it's almost impossible to see what's painted there. Van Eyck not only depicted the room's reflection, including the backs of the figures, but also added a tiny self-portrait of himself. And above the mirror, there's an inscription that reads, "Jan van Eyck was here." An unusual signature the artist left on his masterpiece. Michelangelo, the creation of Adam. You might not know much about Michelangelo, but thanks to memes and pop culture, you've definitely seen this image. The creation of Adam is just one part of the massive fresco painted on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. On the right is the image of God, and about 100 years ago, people noticed it strongly resembles the shape of the human brain. It's no secret that Michelangelo, like many Renaissance artists, studied human anatomy in great detail. What he truly meant by hiding the form of the brain in the painting, however, remains a mystery. By the way, Michelangelo wasn't just a brilliant painter. He was also a master sculptor. His David is arguably one of the most famous sculptures in all of history. The original stands over 5 meters tall, and that's where an intriguing detail comes in. When you look at the statue from below, David appears confident and composed. But if you were to rise to eye level, you'd notice something different. His face reveals fear and perhaps even aggression. One explanation is that Michelangelo, like the genius he was, embedded a hidden meaning into the work. David, after all, is the hero of the biblical story of the battle with Goliath, a giant many times his size. So the expression on his face captures David's true emotions in that moment, the fear before facing a giant. Staying with the story of David and Goliath, there's a dark secret hidden in Caravaggio's version of this biblical tale. But what makes Michelangelo Merici de Caravaggio's 17th century painting so different? It feels far more confessional than others. In this grim artwork, David is shown holding the severed head of Goliath. And those who know what Caravaggio looked like quickly discovered the dark truth. The severed head is the artist himself. But why would Caravaggio paint such a morbid and disturbing self-portrait? Many believe it reflects the guilt he carried from a tragic event in his past. Caravaggio was notorious for brawls and violent behavior. And in Rome, in 1606, after a fierce fight, he killed a man with a sword. The Pope sentenced him to death, forcing Caravaggio to flee the city. If you look closely at the sword in the painting, you can spot the inscription HASOS. Some scholars interpret this as the Latin phrase humilitas occidit superbiam, humility kills pride. Combined with the self-portrait of Caravaggio as Goliath, it could mean the artist was trying to repent for his sins and seek forgiveness through his art. Leonardo da Vinci, the Mona Lisa, another masterpiece of the great genius. Every year, millions of visitors flock to the museum to see the portrait of a woman with a mysterious smile. But few realize just how many secrets this painting hides. One of them lies in the eyes of the Mona Lisa. Using microscopes, experts discovered tiny letters in her right eye, the initials LV. In the other eye, there are also faint markings, though they're harder to make out. And that's not all. Under the bridge in the background, researchers found the number 72. While the letters LV are most likely Da Vinci's initials, the meaning of 72 remains a mystery. There's also the curious detail of the uneven landscape. The left side appears lower than the right. Conspiracy theories abound, but most art historians believe it was intentional. By doing this, Da Vinci gave the painting a sense of movement, as if it were a frame from a film rather than a frozen image. The Mona Lisa is now over 500 years old, yet it continues to surprise scholars with new mysteries. What secrets still lie ahead? Only time will tell. The White Ermine. Not every masterpiece was created in a single attempt. Take Leonardo da Vinci's Lady with an Ermine, for example. In 2013, using a technique called layer amplification, scientists discovered that the portrait was actually painted in 3 different stages. This method works by projecting beams of light at various wavelengths onto the canvas. The light reflects differently off each layer of paint, revealing earlier, hidden versions of the work. In Da Vinci's case, the earliest version showed only the lady herself. The second version already included a small gray ermine. And the final painting, the one we've always known, depicts a much larger white ermine. This discovery points to an intriguing backstory. The portrait was commissioned by the Duke of Milan. The woman is Cecilia Gallerani, the Duke's mistress. The Duke himself was nicknamed the White Ermine. So most likely he asked Leonardo to alter the painting, inserting the ermine as a symbolic stand-in for himself, a way to show off their relationship. It's almost like updating your relationship status, except about 500 years before Facebook. The Watching Devil. The Church of San Francesco in Umbria is decorated with a ceiling fresco painted by Giotto di Bondone. It depicts the death and ascension of the church's patron, Saint Francis. In 1997, an earthquake severely damaged the building, making restoration work necessary. During the repairs, restorers took a closer look at the frescoes and noticed a disturbing detail. Hidden among the clouds is a menacing, grinning face, likely meant to represent Lucifer himself. Since the 1300s, this face had been concealed within the clouds, invisible from the ground. Sergio Fuzzetti, the first to identify it, believes Giotto may have painted it as a joke. But whether or not there's a deeper meaning, the thought that Satan has been silently watching worshippers for centuries is undeniably chilling. Do you think it was just a joke or a hidden message? Which painting amazed you the most? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss new fascinating videos.